The Venezuelan government has announced that they have captured what they call a U.S. spy in the country. They were near two oil refineries in the state of Falcone. Now, this spy had heavy weapons on him as well as a large amount of cash. The man is claimed to be a Marine working for the CIA in Iraq. The spy was trying to collect information on the refineries in Unruhe and Cardon. The two facilities are located in the Paraguana Peninsula along the Venezuelan coast just south of Aruba. This, of course, has now placed the oil ministry on high alert, and this comes just off the heels of the country's petroleum ministry discovering a plan to cause an explosion at the El Palito refinery at Carabobo in the west of Caracas. The country has been battered by U.S. sanctions for decades. Currently, Venezuelan oil exports are at the same level as 1943. The U.S. has stolen PDVSA assets and given them to the U.S. hand-picked usurper, Juan Guaido. The U.K. government has recently stolen $1.2 billion in gold and also gave it to Juan Guaido. Of course, the United States has denied any involvement in the case, saying that their hands are completely clean. And this comes off the heels of a recent, what is suspected to be an assassination or at least a kidnapping by the United States against the current president, Nicolas Maduro. As you'll recall, several mercenaries from Silvercorp, a mercenary outfit headquartered in Florida, sent operatives into Venezuela with the specific purpose of capturing an airport and then using that airport to get Maduro onto a plane and bring him back to the United States, where he would face fraudulent prosecution and very likely be executed by U.S. imperialists. Now, it's very important to point out that this is the point that the United States is going to. Now, there have been explosions and sabotages against the Venezuelan oil industry going back to the Chavez era, even the early Chavez era. And yet with this, the attempted kidnapping that was foiled, the unending sanctions, the blockade against necessary medical goods, particularly in the time of COVID, the U.S. coming in with essentially death squads to kill people in Venezuela, the U.S.-sponsored political violence in the country, the attempted kidnapping of the leader, and yet, despite all of this, the so-called international community has entirely looked the other way. Canada, the UK, Australia, Japan, all of the first world countries, or what is traditionally understood as the international community, has completely looked the other way. The United Nations in general have turned a complete blind eye to the criminal activity of the U.S. empire inside of Venezuela, not to mention many other countries around the world. Yet Venezuela seems adamant about continuing the rule of law and order, even recently releasing several political prisoners, people who attempted to carry out violence inside the country instead of executing them. That's their decision to make. I would disagree, but that is their free and fair democratic right to make that choice. Now, despite all this, the U.S. has attempted to sabotage unending numbers of elections inside the country, refused to recognize that U.S.-backed candidates or puppets have repeatedly lost the elections. And yet, not one bit by the international community has recognized the free and fair democratic rights of the Venezuela and the Bolivarian Revolution, which shows that there really is no pleading with the imperialists, asking them to stop, or there's even no point of even coming to the negotiating table with them. This has been a non-stop campaign to kill Venezuela, to kill Venezuelans. And the UN regulatory body that's supposed to oversee these things has done absolutely nothing. And it's at this point it makes me wonder, what's the point of even staying in the UN? Some of the points in the past have been to gain some of its bureaucratic protection, or to make it look like you're being, or to be cooperative with the process by going along with it. But if that process is just murdering you anyway, what's the point of staying? I think it's high time that the UN just simply be abolished. It simply is not doing what it's claimed to be doing. So I feel, at least in my opinion, that in the future, any attempts to defund the UN, good. And frankly, to hell with it. It's just a tool of U.S. power at this point. And there's really no reason the UN should, frankly, continue. That's not to say the UN doesn't do some good work. The UN World Food Program is really good. But this doesn't justify them looking the other way on these crimes that are being committed by the very same system that they operate inside of. And it's about time something get done about the UN. I'd be in fully support of countries just withdrawing from it and refusing to even deal with the UN anymore, because it's a fraudulent organization. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.